Obama promised to close Guantanamo, and for a while, he promised to try the 9/11 suspects, and he's reneged on both of these promises, and I think it's for the same reason. If he were to actually close Guantanamo and allow for a civilian trial of the people accused of participating in 9/11, in both cases, the big lie of the war on terror would be exposed. The people in Guantanamo are virtually all completely innocent of taking up arms against the U.S., and the few who actually did take up arms against the U.S. did so because the United States invaded their country, and therefore they had every right to defend their country under international law. But most of the people in Guantanamo are just taxi drivers and innocent people who happen to get caught up because somebody, one of their enemies, turned them in to the Americans to collect money. So it's a complete hoax. The idea that there are lots of terrorists out to attack America is a lie and a hoax. And in order to keep that lie and that hoax going so they can continue to attack various countries in the Middle East, they need to keep Guantanamo running. And they also need to make sure that they don't allow a fair trial for the people accused of 9/11. Well, inshallah, it will be shut down one day. And I think the so-called war on terror is reaching its limits. Here in the United States, more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that the so-called war on terror, which is a disguised war on Islam for Israel, is a complete hoax, that Americans are not in any danger of actual terrorism by so-called extremist Muslims. The whole thing was engineered by radical Zionists from the Likud party in Israel and their helpers here in America. Those are the people who blew up the Twin Towers on 9/11. They created the entire myth of the war on terror. And more Americans are waking up, and that's why Ron Paul is doing so well in the Republican primaries, because Ron Paul is telling the truth. He doesn't tell the whole truth, but he tells enough of the truth that people are flocking to him. So I think that the war on terror is unsustainable. Ron Paul's numbers are more than doubling over 2008. That means more and more Americans are waking up. And the American economy is collapsing. So the U.S. cannot afford to keep invading various countries for Israel for more than a few more years. I think the Israelis would like to see the U.S. attack Iran before it finally goes broke, before the U.S. goes broke, I mean. But inshallah, that won't happen. I think there are plenty of American military people who know how disastrous that would be. So at some point, I think that the so-called war on terror is going to have to finally end, and who knows whether that will be this year. That would be nice. But more likely, I think it'll be a few more years before the U.S. is forced to admit that the whole thing has been a gigantic hoax.